Yo, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
I just woke up a few minutes ago, I'm starting my day, but I got my coffee and,
Yeah, I got mine too.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
So I guess I'm gonna go over some of the questions that you probably went over text-wise, but like I was reading over some of it, and it would be cool if you wanted to expand on it in some areas that you wanted to.
Yeah, totally. I gave it like pretty simple, like shortened responses, but I can definitely go more in depth.
Cool. Well, let's like tell the audience your name, what projects that you're in, and where your location is right now.
Alright, well, my name is Joseph Sledgianowski. I have a few projects that I've done over years. Oh, well, yeah, I live in Brooklyn, New York. I've gone through some previous projects before, but actually, I think one of the first ones I did was called Lung, but that was like back in 2004, I believe. Starting in 2006, I started playing as U, which I still do occasionally. That was also after I moved back up to Boston for some time. Around then, I did also a bit harsher project called Typical White Male. I think from like '08 to 12. When I moved back to Jersey for some time, I did a project called Jode Flood Sled, which I think some things are still written as. That was like, it's more like a more abstracted thing occasionally. That was started in 2014. And starting around 2013, from living in Jersey from some time, I occasionally went by Young Herring, mostly for collab works with my buddy Stefan, who has done plenty of different projects also. Thickly Painted Walls, Thickly Painted Closet, FFF, and yeah, him and I have collabed a ton, so he's one of my best buddies in the sound, music, etc. world. But lately I've just been putting down my name so much, just it's a little bit easier to see that, and I also remember from like searching you on like YouTube and stuff, there's some other languages that use the letters EUU as a specific word, so all these random things were coming up, and I was like, oh fuck, like no one's gonna find me on anything, or or people think like I pronounce it as you, so people think it's the word YOU, and it became into this like confusion of everyone for so long that I was just like, all right, just call me by my real name. All right, I don't care anymore. Yeah.
Well, that's like I think that's interesting since like not a lot of people use their real name.
Yeah. Tis true.
Like,
Like I do like many different names, but I mean, I don't know. It really depends. I've just gotten like really sick of like no one really understanding what the fuck I'm saying, so I don't know.
that's totally understandable. I tried to go by different names, and I always just go under Moyo Gash at this point, and it just makes everything easier. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I also do a lot of like I don't know, like I'm a noise dude. It's just funny how like some people think of like what I am as an artist. Like I'm also very involved in like sound art world, and also performance art world, and also like noise realm. And it's funny, like people from the performance world are like, oh well, you seem more like a sound artist, and then people from the sound world are like, oh, you seem more like a performance artist, and then like buddies in noise shows are like, oh, I thought you were just like a performance or sound dude, like you don't do noise stuff. So it's kind of this like weird, like intertwining, like I'm in the middle of everything, but no one like fully agrees on exactly. So I don't know. It's just like, I guess doing multiple different projects and multimedias of works is no one really has a set perspective of it all.
Well, I'm glad you said that because, like, I'm also an artist myself, and I'm currently in school, and I can definitely relate to that. Like, it's almost like you're not maybe it's like not noise enough for the noise people, not art enough for the artist.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I saw that you went to art school, didn't you?
Yeah. I went to the School of the Museum of Fine Arts up in Boston.
How's that?
Yeah.
Like, how's that experience? Were you doing noise stuff there?
Um, yeah, it was a great time actually. The school, I really loved the school because it didn't have defined majors. So you could just take classes in anything you want, and you kind of had to bring together your own formatting of it. And that's where, like, I started getting into noise and stuff before going to college, but they had like a sound art class and system there, and they also had performance art. So it was interesting seeing, like, being taught that realm of the world. And that's also the time where I got way more involved in performance art. Sometimes I miss the old days of Boston because of in back in 2006 at a big place I moved into with many buddies. We started that spot, the Butcher Shop, that was around for like 5-6 years, and eventually it just over the years converted to like what it eventually was. There was tons of people going to the shows and shit, to the point where the landlord finally wanted us like evicted out and like a new reformatting of it all. But I don't know, it was so great having your own like DIY space and having tons and tons of shows there. I miss it, but it's living in New York, it's not as easy. Everything's way more expensive and much smaller,
Yeah. Well, like, let's see the other question. Since like I didn't post the text, yeah, I'll probably post the text later.
Oh yeah.
How did the pandemic affect where you're living right now? Like, I know we've seen like the news and like how crazy things are, and I would like you to expand on that. But it's like in general, but also in like the tight knit like community, like the noise community, how they're reacting to all of this right now in New York.
Oh God. Well, I mean, I live in Brooklyn, and I mean, it's a total shit show all around. I'm sure plenty of people have seen the news and the amount of things going on. Pretty much everything is canceled, but it's also, like we're doing right now, influenced people trying to figure out how we can use things like Zoom and create like larger events with, at least an invitation for people to be viewing something like this on. But also being held into like your own home. And I mean, I'll leave, but usually only to get food, you know. Almost every single person outside is wearing masks. When I see someone not wearing one, I get fucking mad and I almost start yelling at them. I mean, there have been some, I don't know, like, how would you say, the whole thing with the disassociation with watching your screen and not being there for the event, seeing it physically happen. You're just hearing it through like your shitty speaker or something. It's not the same as like being in a, some tight room with the fucking natural reverb of it and everyone getting in this fucking mode of the sounds, seeing it actually like physically created there. There's a total disassociation with seeing it just over a screen. Like, it's hard to recognize that it's live, you kind of get this like weird feeling like, oh, am I just watching a movie? Is this real life? But I will say on that though, a couple weeks ago, I was part of this very large event that happened called Optosonic, Bring Your Own Tea, and there was like 70 artists involved, and each hour, it started at 3 o'clock and went on till about 11, and each hour there was a group of approximately 9 artists, and it was usually like somewhere between 3 to 5 video artists and 3 to 5 sound artists, and everyone would have their like live feeding screen, but the video artists would have no sound, and they'd just be showing like videos or doing live, some kind of piece, and all the sound artists would be performing live with their sound connected in. So it would all be like layered over, and it would be this strange like attempting at interaction with others. But the weird part of it was that you couldn't hear your own sound through it, because Zoom was like originally created for group chats and group meetings for businesses, so you didn't really need to hear yourself talking. But like hearing my synth go through it, like I was like, is it fucking broken? So I was like constantly running into my roommate's room to hear it on his computer and stuff. But it was pretty fucking awesome. Yeah, and that was something wonderful that happened. Like a great progression in things that have been going on now. Yeah.
Is that documented? Like, is that like that whole experience?
Yeah. There's been plenty of screenshots of it, I know, and the whole thing was filmed. I think they're right now chopping the hours and the different collaborative parts of it, and it'll probably be posted online within the next, few weeks. It was pretty awesome. I actually nerded out, and at the end of that whole thing, the questionnaire you sent me, I just copy and pasted all the artists that were a part of that, where you're asking like, who should you check out?
Yeah.
All the sound and video artists were like posted in that, just for the. If not, I would have just been going through like all my friends on the internet, like, oh wait, who released something recently, and then spend a whole day just doing that. I was like, oh, fuck, I can't handle that right now.
Yeah, with noise, it's like there's so many projects, and like one person projects that have so many different names. Like,
yeah.
It's like infinite.
Oh yeah. Some people are doing like releases like every week and shit, and then sometimes it's, I don't know, someone's like once every 10 years, and it's like a huge spectacle, or someone has 20 different projects. I don't know. It turns into a maze.
Yeah, which is like which I love about it. Maybe sometimes it becomes alienating.
Yeah.
How many, like, besides that one event, like how many like have you been on like the Facebook group shows that seems to have been going around?
I have seen some things that were like also connected with Zoom and Facebook and stuff. I mean, I've been trying to see some things going on. I've seen more things like, I don't know, clubs that do parties and stuff, trying to do group parties, and I didn't really like it. I feel like if I were to do something like go to a fucking club, I would need to be there, instead of dancing in front of my computer and feeling like I'm there. I don't know, like, I've done plenty of like chatting with friends and like group chatting through it, which is a little like, that's at least some comfort that can be reactive from this shit. Oh, actually, well, I have done, for a little while, I kind of paused on it recently, but it was something like every other day I was just live streaming for a few hours, like having my synth directly plugged in on Facebook and live streaming just from being nothing connected to however I would go to after some hours. And I did also recorded it straight to tape. So with all this going through, I've actually been sending a lot more physical mail with friends, which is nice. I miss those days when that was a normal thing, you know? So I would send some, like, you know, nice little letters and, you know, a couple of those tapes that I recorded of the live streaming to some buddies, and some stuff like random drawings or, you know, jokes and shit. So that's built up. Something like that is like turned back into this recognizable thing, whereas, you know, months ago, sending something like mail didn't make sense to most people. You know, unless it was like something you ordered to get delivered to you, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. It's like almost like, you know, like getting mail art sent back and forth, and like having a physical connection when everything is online compared to like when we were allowed outside of our house. We didn't care about the mail or like
Yeah. Exactly,
like,
dude.
yeah, huh. It's like almost like if we had the chance to be physical, we're not I don't know, maybe I'm talking about my ass a little bit, but
Do it. I mean, one thing about this though was that, like, when I went to the post office, the line was like literally like going around in a circle, and everyone's wearing their masks or their shirt over them, and like, but everyone's got to be the 6 feet apart, and people were like so fucking weirded out. And of course, there's not enough people working at the post office, so I was standing in line for like about an hour and just getting like weirded out and just trying not to hear anyone talking. There was like people coming in being like, hey, you got some change, and I'm just like, I don't want to hear this right now, and then being like, but I must deal, you know. It gets into one of those points where you're like, almost like, oh fuck, I forgot the word I wanted to say, but kind of like putting yourself through torture for the love you want to give, but
yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people with like PTSD out of this.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah.
Which, like, with our healthcare system, which how shitty it is anyway, with the cost of therapy and everything, and even with the insurance, like, you're still paying out of pocket.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
Oh god, you know, like, did you get your nice little paycheck from the president yet?
Yeah, and I got a fucking letter that like you know, like the White House letter that they sent out also with it.
I haven't gotten it yet. I know plenty of people that did, but I haven't gotten it. But I also, like, I get, I'm on disability because of all my, like, health issues and shit. So that hasn't stopped. But I was looking up with that you know, COVID payment, that the people with disability will get, like, a direct deposit into their account because they have my, you know, bank account and just deposit it every month. And it still hasn't come yet. They said it would be, like, some of the first people getting it.
Oh, wow.
So I'm kind of, like, on edge, and I know if I call them and whine about it, the call won't even go through. It'll just hang up in, like, 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Actually, one good thing about that was that it started, like, last year. The government started taking money out of my direct deposit because I still owed student loans. So they took like $150 out of it a month. So I haven't been getting enough so I can pay my own rent. So I've been having to work more and shit. It fucking sucks. But since the virus started, they stopped taking it out. So it's back up to like what it used to be. So, you know, I have enough money to pay my rent. I don't have enough money for everything else, but yeah.
Yeah, this shows that like the whole system's is flawed.
Oh, totally, man.
People don't need to be like people need to work, but like, do they really need to go to a place to work? Because like certain things are still up and running somehow.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like a lot of people have been saying they're making like more money from they're getting their out of work payment, like I was talking with a buddy of mine, John, who I'm actually going to be doing some work with soon. He was getting his unemployment money. It was something like $600 a week, but he also does a lot of like pretty high level, like behind the scenes electronic sound works. Sometimes doing shit for like big companies or people doing films and shit. And someone offered him to literally just do like it was some people about to work on a new TV show, and they just said like, would you come and work with us pretty much every day? All you'd have to do is pick up all the cards that we filmed onto and then bring it to the studio and just upload it and make sure it's synced with the sound. That's it. But it would take some hours just to wait for the process of uploading and make sure it's synced. But it's like so fucking easy to do. And he was like, he brought it up to me. He was like, actually, dude, how much I'd make from this is like pretty much the same amount I'm getting from unemployment. So nah. And I was like, dude, I'm not getting unemployment. Just tell them to refer to me. Like, he's like, okay, sure. So they actually emailed me and asked, and I would have been making something like $1,200 a week doing that.
Shit.
For literally just uploading like film and sound to a computer. But then they said last minute, like, sorry, we had to cancel it because of the coronavirus. And I was like, oh, well, whatever. I don't really need the money, but I would have felt fucking rich from it. Oh, man.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my God, yeah. Finally, for once, I'd be buying some new synth shit.
Let's see. Has like this whole thing made you more creative? I've seen some of like the hour-long Facebook synthesis that you're doing, which is like incredible to look at, and like all the wires, and it's great that it's like, behind you.
I actually unplugged it all last night, but I actually bought some more yesterday, so yeah. Oof. I got my nice big amount on me. It's something I get super obsessed with, and I just want to say on a side note to that, I get somewhat pissy about people who use modular synths to make like something that just sounds like a very simple like techno song. I'm like, you're doing the most fucking simple thing. You're just plugging your LFO into your oscillator, maybe through a filter and then out. Like, that is exactly just a normal synth. Like, what is the point? You're not doing anything. The thing with my synth is I do like these, I guess in a sense you can call it something like more complex versions of feedback loops, or stuff like taking things going out and then dividing by like prime numbers and then going into other parts so they're kind of all somewhat intersecting. Like, I'll completely use all of my cables, stuff like that, and see like what, like I have something like 60 something cables, and I just like to get it into these really complex things where you can let it sit for hours and it will constantly evolve. And that's the things I get obsessed with it. Like, I could leave and then come back home in like an hour and it doesn't sound anything like it did before. That's like the obsession I get with modular synths. It's not like, I'm sure if anyone's watching this, they know it's not just the straight wire going through it, the normal function of, a synthesizer. I can put it in any order and have anything affect another thing. It's just a lot of people just don't have an open enough mind for it. But with this going on, I'm just pretty much locked in here by myself with that, and it's almost turning into this like meditative point where I don't mind sitting staring at it for 5 hours, and like you can, with my LFOs, they can be extremely slow. I can set it to go through one wave over something like an hour and a half, just to go through one wave. So sometimes I'll do like a complex patching and see once it gets to the next step past that, how it will sound. So I'll literally sit here like staring at it for an hour and see where it gets to, like stuff like that. And I'm starting to feel even closer with it, even though I've been using like modular for about like almost 15 years now. Like you know, it's starting to finally make even more sense.
Yeah, it's like it's like its own body. Like leaving it for an hour, it's like it becomes a person. I don't know, like.
Yeah, well, that's what I love about it. Like, some people look at it and they're like, "Oh, you're playing like adult Legos or something," you know? Well, kind of, but you know, this one has legs and can talk to you and mess with your head, you know? And it's I don't know. It's just something about it. Like it does a lot of things you don't expect sometimes. And that's why I do things like these crossing, going back to the beginning loopings of it. So it turns into what I said, like these like over complex, similar things to feedback loops, you know? Yeah.
You know, like,
actually, a funny thing slightly relevant to that was during one of those live streams I was doing on Facebook, I had it like, you know, I was going into my computer streaming it, but I also had my phone open playing it. And it had something like a 5 or 10 second delay. And I was taking the audio out from it and plugging that into the synth. So it made like an elongated like delay to it. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, that's so dope. Like this, like with, it's like you're live streaming, you have this machine doing something, and then you have the recording and plugging that in. It like in a way becomes like a weird like meta thing, and it kind of like that relates to like where we're in now. We're just like we're literally plugged in. But
yeah,
like,
yeah.
It goes. It's like almost disassociating.
Yeah, but then your disassociation is becoming more technically associated with, and it's kind of this weird like cut process of it all. I don't know. Yeah.
That's really I like that. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I definitely need to go back and watch that because that seems like a great visual.
Oh, thanks. Well, I don't know if you can like in the video it was almost just like this, exactly how it is. I don't know if you could see, but like my phone was like just sitting like right here and had a cable into the external in, and you probably don't even notice. But when I do it again, I'll make it more visual or something.
Yeah.
It's funny over the last few years, like, well, a few years ago, I lost a bunch of my effects. Like I had another like 2 really decent reverbs. I had like a really great panner. I had like another 2 distortions. And I would do a lot of things like outputs going into Ys. So it would go 1 to 2 outputs for each thing. And I would do like very large like amounts of things going into the mixer. And nowadays I've just been only using my synth and like 1 reverb, and I've gotten like more used to trying to figure out the extent I can make with something so simple. And I think that's what's also been putting into, like I was saying before, like me paying way more attention and being able to wait to see how dense something can be. Like I know like things used to be way more ambient years ago, but it was easy to do it that way. And now, like, with the album I just released last week, it's going back to this, like, dark ambient point again, which I'm finally come to recognizing how to do more. It's just with, like, a different, like pattern and sequencing of the patching of it. But I'm finally happy to have this, like, dark ambient structure again. Like, for a while, I would have these like patching set up where it was just like, you know, and it sounded like really chaotic and it wouldn't make sense to a lot of people, but it wasn't to this like very dark ambient point I was trying to get to. So it was fun experiments, but it wasn't reaching what I want.
Okay.
it's hard to explain without it like playing in the background.
Yeah, that's like that's the tough part. Like I maybe it kind of goes back to like artists and everything, and like not understanding. It's like only like I understand what you're talking about. And like I feel like people that are in this type of community, it's just like, oh, this like sounds like no to nuances with like kind of like harsh noise wall and harsh noise and like kind of like modular synthesis going crazy. We're like used to that. Some people, it's like different forms of metal. And then like someone who doesn't know about it, it's like, oh, what's the difference between black metal and grindcore to like a normal person in a like.
Yeah. Well, it's like I've tried to like, yeah, I don't know. I think we're also peoples that like know a lot of these different like subgenres, like you're just saying. Like I've tried to explain different subgenres of noise and metal to people, and they're just like, dude, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. It's kind of creeping me out. Like what the fuck? What power violence? Am I gonna get beat up? You know, shit like that. Like, just it'll just come to a point where I'm just like, never mind. You know, it won't make any sense. Yeah.
Which is like
dude, that's reminding me of this funny point. Like many years ago, when I was visiting some family, and for a long time I didn't show them like any of the music or sound works I was doing, and I put on a tape I did for my grandma, and I pressed play, and literally after 5 seconds she's like, it hurts, turn it off. Oh my god, it was so funny. So like, yeah, I recognize the huge barriers between some peoples and noise.
It's like, oh, you're going to school for that? Like, it's like
Yeah, like I've explained performance art to people, you know, more like older family, and they're just like, that's weird. Doesn't make sense. A cool thing is though, like my father's come to a lot of my performances, and he's into it. He's not like an artist, but he has more respect and an open mind to it and stuff. So he enjoys at least seeing like whatever is happening, and also that, you know, the big community, the amount of people, and how like rather open people are and want to share their love. And like he's come to like parties of it and hung out and met like other peoples of so. And also like, you know, through a lot of the art world, there's plenty of older artists and younger artists. So, you know, meeting peoples I've collabed with that are like in their 60s, 70s, it was like a little bit more opening to him and stuff like that. So, you know, it's not just like, hi, this is my friend that's exactly the same age as me, you know, with a lot of things that's another good thing about the, you know, the art world and music world. It's the open barriers. Age isn't such a huge thing. Whereas a lot of things, people are stuck into these barriers of openness and, yeah.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be like that. That's like the great thing about like the art that we do, that like I don't know, it's like sometimes for me it's like almost validating to like collab with someone that's like older, because it's like there's like a lineage happening, and it's also it's like it like broadens the range in a weird way. I don't know. With like the Facebook events, do you think it's like because like actual bands can't, it's not translated well?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've noticed with some of this stuff. Like, it works well for me because I just literally take, like, I also have one of those, like, analog to digital converters, like a Firebox. I mean, I'm also, like, a little bitch about, like, analog versus digital, but I usually just go from my mixer out to that and then into my computer, and it streams well, you know? You're not hearing me like talking to myself through it into, you know, because then you need a mic. But something like a band, you would need like, you know, you'd need your perfect studio space and all these mics set up, and then, oh, do you need 3 mics for the drum set? And, you know, like, oh wait, do I need also an direct input for this and this? And then you're just like, holy shit, this is like, to play live, you need like literally a whole studio space and like, maybe you got to hire someone to work on the sound for you. That's, I guess, a good thing about being like more things for solo people in this sense. It makes it a little bit easier. But also on that note, I've seen like a lot of people trying to use like Instagram for shit like this, but you can't use direct in. So what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe you got one of those like holders to hold it on a tabletop for you to stare at you, but like a lot of stuff with music sound world is about hearing it. It's like putting like a fucking pillow over your face and trying to talk to someone. There's no point.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the whole like Instagram. Like that's like you could say the leading social media platform right now, and it's like people like I guess like at least in our like community and like probably others, it's like going back to like the dead Facebook to like connect again.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. But I mean, the widened platform of it makes it a little easier for all different things. With Instagram, I get it why people are sucked into it. It's because it's so fucking simplified, and all it is taking a photo and pasting it in. But that's something I dislike about it. It's like sometimes I want to say something or like share a link with an explanation and some kind of reasoning, and you can't really do that on Instagram. I mean, let me screenshot my whole paragraph of writing and paste it for you. The whole thing with that is people have no fucking attention span, and they'll be like, oh, words, let me scroll past that,
Well, like, speaking about attention spans, I guess like that's kind of like making long form. This might be a little bit off subject, but like go into like your like long form video and long form sound pieces, and like some of the questions that been brought up to me. It's like, is it important to someone to sit there for an hour to watch like this piece of art or listen to it, or it's like you kind of like come and go as you please?
Well, I mean, there's, I don't know. You got to ask the person who made it, like what they're trying to release from it, what they want people to absorb from it. Honestly, like if it's something like that, I would want to like be able to sit there and absorb it thoroughly. But there's plenty of things I don't have the attention span for. But I must say that's how I put together a lot of my music, my sound works. They're usually like one song is like a half an hour long, and maybe like the first 5 minutes is too boring for people, but it has this like evolution to it. And if you get too bored from some dark ambient sounds, well, I don't know, that sucks for you. Yeah. I mean, I must say a lot of my stuff is made to have people start zoning out, and they get kind of stuck into it, and they don't realize that the things with the offset timings and the very deep ambience of it, the very deep low frequencies and certain like random high frequencies, people's moods get really affected by it. And that's what I do with a lot of my sound music works. And when people start actually paying attention to it, they're just in a different realm from it. And that's what I like to create. Like, people have different motions with their works. Like sometimes people make works to get people offset by it and like, afraid or scared or want to run away. Like sometimes that'll pop up with my works, but I want to like completely absorb people in the sound. And like they feel like the sound is inside them or something. And that's what I bear deep into. I have a lot of like playing with panning with it. I mean, I would love to start doing more like quadraphonic sets and stuff, which I have done a few times, but I'd like to a lot more. But,
I like that. I like that answer. I always like different people's perspective on that. Do you think that this will change the way that noise artists kind of do things? It's like I feel like it's like I don't know how many people are watching these like events and everything, but it's like so out there. Like a lot of it. I think it's shown itself to a lot of different people, which is really good. And hopefully it sticks. How like have you thought about like the lasting effects of this situation?
I mean, well, I know a lot of people in the noise scene are total insiders. You know, they're inevitably this isn't too difficult for some. You know, I mean, I'm like a back and forth, but aside, I mean, I can handle this. I know there's plenty of people that are very good with like computer and digital works, that they're a little bit more pushed to make a different like advancing the ideas of like virtual realms and virtual reality. Like a buddy I know around New York, Matthew Gantz, has started getting into something like virtual reality kind of show, but everyone that's watching it live streaming is actually their own character in it, and there is like a completely like interactive space that you're in. So it would actually be more productive for those people like wearing those like face mask kind of things where you're actually feeling 3D in it. But I saw some streams of it, and it's like it's pretty much like how you can see our like screen here. That's on just one wall of the space, and you can go around and see everything else happening around it, and you can walk up to another person in it. Maybe that other person is, you know, created as like, I don't know, a unicorn or something, and like you're like a flying dolphin, and then like you're like seeing this like recreation using people's like strange like exaggerated mind a little more, and seeing how it's all caricaturized in this space. And then you do see the person performing, like maybe they're like on a set, maybe it like doesn't look as much because it's like not projected, but like just one wall of the space, but it's like getting there. So it's like absorbing like a different take of it all, you know. I know this Friday, how I was mentioning my buddy John before, he lives like a block away, like right at this really decent intersection here between like Myrtle Ave and Central and DeKalb. And they have a back porch, and it walks out right onto this like very low roof. So this Friday we're gonna have like a live show from the roof, going out to whoever the fuck is like walking around. So it's a small enough setting, and there's no like walls to it, that if you're walking around, you're probably gonna hear us or see us. So we're gonna see how that works. It'll be cool. I'm sure plenty of people will be like, "Turn that shit off," you know. But that's what we want to see, you know.
Oh, totally. Makes it like a little bit normal.
Yeah.
And like I guess in Philly, just like no one, the cops aren't doing anything right now unless it's violent. So I don't think they're gonna do anything about noise complaints or anything.
No, they're gonna just be like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
How about you shut up? Yeah.
Oh man.
There's been like those things like everyone's probably heard about on the news. Like every day at 7:00, everyone in the city is like on their roofs, like ringing bells and cheering, and like, you know, as like kind of a shout of respect to peoples, and like we're still here for each other kind of thing. So, you know, people are figuring out these ways and trying to surpass like things like that. People are making noise. I saw a funny sign saying, if you're not wearing a mask, I'm going to throw a water balloon at you out my window, you know. All this kind of, I don't know. Some people are going crazy. Some people are thinking of great ways to adapt. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, that's like
Funny.
oh, that's like good to hear. Like it's like because like I haven't heard like too much about like really what's like everyone has heard a lot about going to New York, but I didn't know about like the whole Bell thing. And of course, people are taking it more seriously in New York compared to like where I'm at in like West Philly. That like people are wearing masks, but like not all the way, or like wearing them wrong, or like below. And it's like, of course, people in New York would take this more seriously because like it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, the amount of people is pretty fucked up. It's like people are thinking the numbers are going down. The numbers aren't, you know. There's way more people that are sick than there's getting counts of. I mean, I even know people that have died from this shit. I mean, going out on the street and seeing, you know, they've been saying like, oh, you only have to put your mask back on if you're close to a person so you can walk around without it on. But still, there's plenty of people that aren't doing that. And it starts to make me like a little bit nervous and pissed off. And, you know, I don't know. There's so much about it that's going on. The concentration of it is fucking with people. There's, I mean, I could just talk for hours ranting, but I keep like flipping back and forth on things. Like, I mean, I'm often nervous, and then there's things like there's only a certain amount of people allowed in a store at times, but then that creates a line outside, and then like some people are too close to another. Some people start flipping out because they're too close. It's just like weird abstraction in everyone's minds. It's, you know, there's a news thing about like, oh, there's now a new version of it that's popping up. But, you know, this is a virus. It can like regenerate itself and evolve fast, you know? There's probably plenty of different versions. I mean, the virus is related to SARS, which came out like, 15 years ago or something. It's literally a similar structure of it. So it evolved from SARS. You know, this was around before. I don't know, man. This stuff is crazy. It's there might not be like a new way of being together with people outside for a long time. There's even the things like, you know, in some of the more conservative states where there's been people trying to protest and shit and being so fucking ridiculous. There's been jumps in the amount of people that are going to the hospitals there. Hopefully fucking people learn from that, you know?
Yeah.
It's, you know, everything's kind of like exponentially rising with tensions of society and the formatting of this country. And I have a lot of friends from all around the world, and a lot of places are considering the United States as the pirate country now.
Oh, wow.
You know, yeah. But of course, we don't hear it on our news here because, you know, a lot of our news is fucking specifically formatted and leave out a lot of things that are happening around the world. It's kind of nuts, man.
What do they mean by the pirate country?
Well, one thing is our country's big. You know, there's a lot of people and it's very spread out, and there's a vast differential between the different regions of it. The kind of games how essentially the government is playing with each individual state. They've been saying things like, oh, well, this isn't our problem anymore. You have to control your own state. You figure it out yourselves. Things like that. The things like shipments of like millions and millions of masks coming in from another country. it lands, and then a bunch of FEMA people going there and saying, this was shipped from another country, we need to confiscate that from you and take it in, we need to look at it. But then that is then flicked out and sold again. So they're playing these literal fucking pirate games. Like, FEMA isn't working as how its, you know, its name is based from. It's working as like a fucking mafia gang for people of the government. Yeah. And things like that have happened here in New York. It's happened in Boston. It's happened in Chicago. It's happening to a lot of the places that are a little bit more vast and a little bit more open-minded and democratic. And a lot of the big owners of the government, those billionaires and, you know, multi-corporate owners, don't like that. So they want to steal from the people who need it the most and then sell it off to other people and make more money. You know, it's a huge fucking game that's going on like that now.
Yeah, shit.
It's really fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying. Like, a lot of, like, I do watch some, like, normal news to try to understand these, like, general simplified perspectives of things, but I watch a lot of more independent news, and I watch some news from other countries also, and try to get this kind of different, deeper analysis of this all. And, you know, a lot of, like, mainstream media is very blurring on this stuff. And a lot of mainstream media are, like, defined as, like, the corporate Democrats. So they still have a blurred perspective of certain things. Maybe with some of this, they're understanding how people need the help, but they're still, like, paid for by this company and don't want to have to pay taxes if there's new, you know, taxes coming around with a future president, which, you know, isn't going to happen anymore. You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's, yeah.
It's, like, just from doing, like, the research and, like, talking to a bunch of people and, like, using, like, different softwares and my point in, like, trying to, like, this streams onto, like YouTube and Facebook, and then, like, it goes on to Twitter and everything, and then, like, I found some, like, really weird places you can stream to from this. And, like, me researching that and, like, broadcasting to those also, because when I found out some of these websites that I'm able to, like, stream on, there's not a lot of people on them. It looks like some dark web shit, and it's like people just like alt-right people, or like just talking like fucking bullshit. Like,
I've seen some news reports on, like, stuff that was coming up with these, like, protest things and stuff, protest against, like, the suggested government control of this, and it'd be like, you know, super, like, Nazi people trying to, like, change the minds of people. Oh, you know, those left-wing people are trying to make us held in, but we have to speak of, like, you know, of our right-wing holdover, and, oh, you know, it was the Chinese and the Jews that made it happen, you know. And they're, you know, stuck into this, like, fucked up, like, suction ways of finding the easiest way to suck into their, like, their brainwashed formatting. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, in some of those protests, there were people with fucking, like, Nazi flags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucking scary. It's like,
yeah.
And it's weird. Like, I don't know, with in New York, and like, it's like, I don't know, I've been in Philly all my life, and Philly's like fairly like progressive and everything, but there's still pockets in Philly, in a city, that like I probably still have, that like I grew up around, that had like Confederate flags.
Mm-hmm.
Even before everyone was so hyped about it. And it's like, that's like,
yeah,
you think in city, I don't know.
There's definitely still a little bit of that around in certain places, but I mean, I think I saw a clip of, like, some people trying to protest in like uptown Manhattan, and people walking by them being like, come on, man, get a fucking light. You know, you're a fucking idiot. You know, keep on doing that. Someone's going to punch you in the face, you know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, what was it, like last week? There was a big protest against this all up in Boston. And, I mean, I still have tons of friends that live in Boston. And they're just posting, like, clips of it on the internet being like, look at these fucking idiots. They probably all came from, like, New Hampshire or, like, up in the woods in Boston, in Massachusetts and, like, maybe other states and found it as a good connection point. You know, I don't know. It's mostly in the cities. People are a bit more conscious of this shit, you know?
Totally. Like, it's like, because there's so many different types of people. It's not like in the middle of like nowhere. It's like you and like your like cousins and like someone down the block that's like your whole world, and you think it's a certain way, or like not like don't have like I don't know. People in cities usually have experiences for better or worse. Mm-hmm. Like living in cities,
we learn a little faster.
You have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Like, well, like this has been really great.
Yeah, man.
I really like it. I appreciate it so much. And like you're like one of the only people like we haven't met before this. We haven't met in person.
Oh yeah, you're right.
You know,
I thought like maybe there was one of the few times that I'd been to Philly that we met, or like one random time like you met me up in Boston. But no, you're right. We haven't met before.
Yeah, I don't like. We do have mutual friends in common. Like I know Thickly Painted Walls.
Oh yeah, I mean he's one of my best friends. Like we like grew up together. You know?
Oh shit! Oh wow.
Yeah, we're from like the same town in North Jersey. Like yeah.
Okay. I have a buddy Keith that would play in North Jersey a lot, and who knows them. So like I'm cute. Like we all kind of know each other in a weird way.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's like I don't know. Philly's so close to Jersey, New York, and I don't know. It's the whole Northeast. Plus, dude, we're in like the noise experimental world, and that everyone is connected somehow. You know, that's just how it is.
Yeah. Like, is there anyone that you want to like? The last like, is there anyone that you want to shout out?
Well, I want to shout out to Stefan, Thickly Painted Walls, who you just brought up. I want to shout out to all those people who I'm doing this new collab release on. I'm pretty much just each person I'm going to do a new collaborative song with. You said you'd do something for it too, so we got to figure out what to do.
Totally.
But yeah. Stefan's doing something with me on that. My buddy Max, who performs as Max but spelled M-A-K-S, he does some really interesting, like, lot of harsh noise, but with stuff like Max MSP, but also has like crazy wardrobe and like set he creates for it. Oh god, now everything's slipping on who I'm doing this shit with. A buddy of mine from France that I actually first met out in Estonia when I was there a couple months ago. I don't know. Everyone else from around the fucking world that I've like hung out with and done something with. Oh, you know Sean, right? From Jersey, Sean Austin. I'm seeing he's online right now. What's up, Sean?
Oh, is he?
He was in some bands and does some kind of like grindcore noise stuff sometimes. I'll send you something of his. We're supposed to collab on something soon too. I don't know, man. I'm like looking through my Facebook friends right now, and who can I think? Yeah, I'm still waking up. I'm still in like the fucking foggy brain mode.
That's fine. Yeah, like after this, around I think 3, I'm interviewing Echo Lightwave Unspeakable from Pittsburgh. which will be fun. And I don't know, like the noise community. It's like we're very supportive of each other.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, I can just say, like, support all my buddies out there and anyone I've ever, like, collabed with, anyone I've gone to a show of. You know, I'm probably still watching your feeds and you're chatting on everything and, you know, trying to listen to your new shit. Yeah. There's too many people to remember every single person's name.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. It doesn't mean I'm not there for you, you know.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, and hopefully we can see each other in person, and we're gonna collab, and you know,
yeah.
like I'm
one of these days.
One of these days. But you know, it's kind of cool to have what out of this like crazy situation is just like two people who haven't met can actually like, you know, have a conversation and it be a kind of chill, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, we're just people who have become accustomed to adaptation, you know. That's a way a lot of us live our lives, you know. People who are artists or into experimental music and stuff, we base our lives on adaptation. We don't, you know, we're not used to like the simplified structure of the world. That's like you know, actually this is, I read too much shit sometimes. I've read like too much philosophy, and there's a really great book by Deleuze and Guattari called On the Line, and they pretty much talk about like the beginning. They talk about like rhizomes and rhizomatic structure and how like the most simplified plants, they live the majority of their lives like underground and just branch out in every direction, and all of those roots branch out in every direction, and those branches of roots go out in every direction, and if something's in the way, they just go around it and reconnect and then branch out from there. And the second half of the book, which they call On the Line, based, or you know, the name of the book is based after, they're explaining the formatting of humans, and we're supposedly the smartest creatures in this world, but our lives are this such a simplified way that it's literally on a line, or maybe it's like two parallel lines, but it's like, you know, we're born, we're raised, we go to a small level of school, we graduate, we either have this normal job or we go to college to learn another way to format your life to, and then you live the rest of your life as that. Maybe you get married and have a kid, and then you fade away and die. But there's this one amazing point that they bring up, is that it seems the only people that aren't stuck in living on this line, that actually have this rhizomatic mentality of life, are artists and schizophrenics. Because they're used to having this openness and this vastness around, that they don't feel solidified to continue on in this only single direction. They can constantly move around and branch from there and meet others and branch from that and then go there and branch from that, and our life is about releasing and absorbing and intersecting and this continuum of it all. Yeah.
That was great. I need like that's fucking. I need to read that.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to the book later.
Totally, it made me think of like, I don't know. I always think about this like William Burroughs, and like it's like a one big cut up.
Oh yeah. I actually have a really funny book of on that pretty much some artists took one huge book by Freud, but like just mixed all the words and made a new book out of it. So at first it seems like you're reading this like this analysis of like human life and nature, and then you remember that the whole thing was just cut and pasted and flipped around, and it makes no sense after a couple pages. But when you start reading it, it kind of seems like it makes sense, but it doesn't at all. It's really amazing. Really interesting book, too.
That's fucking great. Well, thank you for this again.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, too, man.
Have a nice day, and I'll hopefully see you in person soon.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Be well.
You
Be well.
too. Have a nice day.
Peace.